Brothers and sisters, I am extremely happy to be here in Canada or Vancouver once more here. I'm very happy, and here this afternoon many people as they come to see me here. I very much appreciate. Thank you. And also this gives me opportunity meeting some of my old friends, some old Tibetans also here. Now everyone now getting older, isn't it? But I think our spirit, Tibetan spirit, still very fresh, very highly very strong. So thank you to organizer, give me this opportunity. Now the minister Australia and today Madus Kasore honorary citizens to Munzinambare and in Munzinanduzane Chik Treasure Kone Vejik Sangne Chikduk the Munzintone to Snambare a song great honor.
I would like to take the opportunity, first of all, to express my deep appreciation for the honor that has been conferred upon me in the form of granting me this honorary citizenship by the minister today. And in the minister's remarks, he made the observation that the decision to grant me this honor was unanimous at the parliament.
So, now from this visit, now I'm also citizen of this country. I jokingly responded the other day, of course, I feel great honor to receive this honorary citizenship. But I want to know what is the privilege or what is the rights. And I utilize those rights maximum way. But if there must be some duties or responsibility. That is concerned if some responsibility to come as a result of citizen of this country, and I will say, goodbye, my home is in India. But in any case, I'm just a simple Buddhist monk, and just ordinary Tibetan, come from a very remote village. But because of my name, and because of Tibetan struggle through non-violence, through compassionate sort of motivation, I feel like a Nobel laureate, the Nobel Peace Prize, and also many other sort of awards. And now here, the honorary citizenship, I consider this is sort of gesture way. sort of expression of support are just cause. So I very much appreciate. Then my talk tonight, cultivate happiness. Now, sorry, today, long day. Most of my energy now almost gone. But I will try to share some of my feeling or my thought to you here. Most of you, I think, new friend. So I would like to share with you. Perhaps I may sit there and then speak. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. You give me this permission. Thank you. Now my usual gossip. Gossip is good, right?
Babbling.
So firstly, I consider myself just another human being. Just like you. And although we met, most of you, I think this is first time met, but as a human being, as a human brothers, sisters, I think in deep insight, in deep sorrow, deep down, I know you as a human brothers, sisters. What kind of your emotion? What kind of was the mental state? And what kind of your desire? Because we are same. So sometimes people make deliberately distinction, Easterner or Westerner, and this race or this community or that community, or Buddhist or Christianity or Christians or Muslims or Hindus, Jews, make a lot of differences, divisions. But actually, these are secondary. The important is we are human beings. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same. And also, everybody, even including animals, all sentient beings, want happy life. Do not want disturbances or suffering. And everyone has the right to have happy life, happy future, successful future. So, my main commitment, number one commitment is how to achieve happy life, successful life. I feel for successful and happy life, much depends on our mental attitude. I think mental outlook. The money, power, or even health, I think secondary. If mental state, calm, or say peace, then you really enjoy your life. If mentally not calm, too much stress, too much unrest, or fear, or doubt, then wealth, power, friends, all the facilities, I think, can do very little. So according to my own experience, I think my life passing through, I think, many difficulties and a lot of burdens. And during this period, I found mental calm state and a certain outlook towards sort of the object, including particularly problems or sufferings. It really makes differences. Very, very helpful. I think comparatively, I think my mental state, I think quite okay, quite calm. Some heartbreaking news comes, of course, a short moment, some anxiety, some disturbances, but then soon goes away. So something like ocean. On the surface, wave, sometimes very severe wave.
No, strong wave.
Strong wave, come and go. Underneath, ocean always remain like calm. So sometimes I feel like that kind of situation. Some disturbing news come, little disturbances at the surface, but bottom or deep down, okay, it quite remain calm. I never touched tranquilizer or sleeping pill. So there is no particular Tibetan medicine or food habit, just a normal, ordinary way. But I think through certain training of mind, certain mental attitude, certain mental outlook, seems, I think, very helpful. So, of course, in my own case, the training according to Buddhism, also very useful. But that is something my private matter. I am Buddhist. But meantime, all these training is essentially on the basis of basic human qualities. So that is common for everyone. And all different religious tradition talks, see, the same message of love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, contentment, self-discipline. Why? All different traditions, I think the traditions develop or comes on the basis of human basic good quality. This is my fundamental belief. So that's why, you see, we, as someone has mentioned, that's why I always say, respect and appreciate all different traditions. Of course, in the philosophical field, there's big differences, fundamental differences. But that's the method. but goal is same, to be more warm-hearted person, a sensitive person. So in any way, all human good qualities concerned, we all have the same. So I always make stress, right? In order to achieve happy life, there is no point to neglect about our inner good quality, such as human affection, sense of concern, sense of care, and sense of community, and sense of responsibility as a part of the community. Right? And then I feel the sense of affection. That's, I think, a foundation of all other good qualities. So the affection, actually, biologically speaking, the affection is something, I think, the foundation to survive our life. So I often is telling people, for example, my own case, first teacher of compassion towards me is, to me, my mother. As soon as I born, my mother take fullest care. And I survived through my mother's milk. I think this body, I think today, now 71-year-old, this actually, I think, Kasoda, built on the mother's care, mother's milk. And I still feel the impact deep in my mind from mother's affection. I think still remain there. So sometimes we forget that. And sometimes we take for granted, right? Take for granted. So I think that's a mistake. We should not neglect that. We should not forget that. We must make effort to sustain these values, inner values. Then your life will be more happier. Once your own sort of attitude towards other more affectionate, more warm-heartedness and respect and friendly sort of attitude, then others' response also similar, usually. Sometimes not. So therefore, the friendly atmosphere must create by ourselves. I think it is illogical. Ourselves remain extreme self-centered, selfish, and don't care about other. Meantime, want friendly atmosphere. That's illogical. Wealth important, but friendship more important. You may be poor, but surrounding warm-hearted people feel very happy. Even on the bed of hospital, very pain, sick, but surrounded by
loving people. Loving people.
Loving people. And those doctors, nurses, with more smile, you feel very happy, much happier. Or some cases, you see doctors or nurses treat you as a machine, without much smile, or then sometimes feel a little worry or anxiety. So the friendly atmosphere is very, very important. So during study, in school time, right, school age, I think from the day of birth, right, from day of birth, until the last day, death. I think till that, I think human affection is the key thing for meaningful life, for happy life. So should not consider the compassion or affection is something religious subject or religious matter. Usually, you see, many people get the impression compassion, forgiveness, love, loving kindness, these things considered as a religious subject. Therefore, those people who have no interest about religion, no faith, religion, then they also neglect about these things. I think that's a mistake. As I mentioned earlier, major religions carry this message. But essentially, these are two things separate. Basic human good qualities and religious teachings are separate. So, so that is individual case. Now today, our world, now we are in the beginning of 21st century. Look back, 20th century. I think in reality, 20th century become, I think, a very, very important human century. During that period, during that century, I think humanity carried a lot of different experiments. Political system, economic system, and then also the technology and many, many things. So within that century, I think humanity achieved marvelous sort of experiences. So sometimes I feel that the certain human belief or human sort of concept at the beginning of 20th century, I think time passes, and then through our own experience and some of our ideology or some of our belief,
way of thinking,
not realistic and become unrealistic, so fail. I think we learned many things. And meantime, I think the greatest number of human beings killed and suffer as a result of war. I think First World War, Second World War, in the Vietnam War, Korean War, and also some other sort of war. So I think that century become century of bloodshed, century of violence. I think tremendous violence not solve all human problems. In fact, now today's some violent, unfortunately, some violent sort of situation you see here and there, and including terrorism. I think result of past mistake. These violence, like terrorism, the September 11th event, not just happen without causes. I think some cases may be century-old, some kind of jealousy, some kind of fear.
Grievances,
The
grievance.
Grievance. So therefore, as we look back the past century, there are good achievements as well as some, I think, mistakes. So now we have to work. We have to make effort. This century should be century of dialogue. And then also, because, some different interest or conflict of interest or conflict of belief or conflict of ideology, always there. But then, when we confront some conflict, disagreement, using force is out of date. Must talk. Respect others as a part of ourselves. Now, because of the new reality, because of the population, because of our living standard increase, and because of the using energy very highly. So therefore, the whole world, not very small, heavily interdependent. So under this new reality, I think our concept, we and they, I think that's now no longer. Whole world should treat as a So you see, according to reality, enemy as a they and we, something independent, something separate, they not depend each other, then concept of war, eliminate enemy is the victory of your side. But today's reality, heavily interdependent. Now a crisis in Arab, oil price go up and millions of people get disturbances. And then furthermore, ecology. No national boundary about ecology problem. So therefore, now I think news reality or new circumstances now compel to us to look other continent, other people, just like our people, and accordingly treat them, respect them, recognize their right, and then some conflict, some differences through talk, within the respect of others' interest, and fully recognize their right and their interest. So the only way is the through dialogue to solve the problem. So therefore, this century, now 21st century, should be century of dialogue. Now for that, just a few words is not sufficient. I think the way of thinking, way of life, I think should enrich the way.
Should be enriched.
Should be advanced. Consider other as a human being, as a human brothers and sisters, and entire humanity is the basis of my future, our future. So consider like that, then talk, respect them, no matter how difficult it is, how the fundamental differences, we can find some way to solve the problem. I think that's the one. So therefore, the compassionate attitude have, I think, many important roles. In the political field, economy field, now in economy, this gap, rich and poor. Northern industrialized nations, there is surplus. Southerner, their basic necessity also not adequate, and thousands facing starvation. I think because of mentally we divided they and we, not seriously concerned about others' suffering. In reality, there are a lot of suffering, a lot of problem, other side of the world. Eventually, the repercussion or consequences reach your own side. So this gap, rich and poor, not only global level, but also within the country, like the United States, the richest country, still pockets here and there, some poor people, poor family there. As a result, crimes, fear, disturbances, sense of insecurity there. And I think so therefore, in the economy field also, now this gap, in any case, must reduce. Otherwise, this gap is not only morally wrong, but practically also source of problem. So here also, they mentally look them as human brothers and sisters, and we have to work hard to reduce this gap. Then environment. Again here, the compassionate motivation there, sense of concern of others. Then one individual's sort of necessity,
Needs.
one individual needs. Then the contentment automatically come. You want this one, that. But then remember, a lot of other people still facing the lack of basic necessity. Then feeling, enough, to me enough. If just you see, they become slave of extreme self-centered, selfish. The discontentment, and no hesitation, exploitation on other. So in that respect also, I think compassionate attitude has important role. Then I think education. I think proper development of the mind or intelligence. Right? I think teacher shows us compassion, affection. Not only teach the subject, but also showing human affection. I think the lesson which come from such teacher, I think the teaching goes much deeper. According to my own experience, when the day or the lesson, my teacher, my tutor teach with smile, with sort of happy mood, I feel very happy. That lesson goes deep in my mind, so memory remain long last. So those lessons, that particular day, my teacher a little bit, unhappy mood. Then, with combination of fear, deep inside, not much volunteer. So the lesson learned under such atmosphere, not to go very deep. And then health. Of course, the affection have, I think, very important role, very obvious. Now the modern medical scientists also now begin to realize for illness, calm mind, peaceful mind is very important. So therefore, the compassion, affection, sense of concern, these are, I think, basic our value, very important, should not consider as a religious subject. Whether you accept religion or not, up to individual. But these basic human values, you should have, you must have, because we want happy life. These are the basic element of happy life. Then, then another thing. Sometimes people get impression, practice compassion is good for other, but not necessarily to oneself. I think that great mistake. I think the benefit out of practice of compassion goes firstly to oneself. That's 100%. As soon as you develop certain kind of compassionate sort of mind, then immediately something like our inner door open automatically. As a result, happy. open, very easy to communicate with other, and very easy to create friendly atmosphere. No fear, no jealousy, no doubt. Where? I think as once your own mind open to other, then you feel very easy way.
No, at ease.
Ah.
You feel at ease.
But if you close this inner door and just think me, oneself, then you develop some kind of suspicion. Look front, suspect. Look right. Oh, what they may, Kasoda.
They may be what they may be thinking.
What they may be thinking. They may take advantage on me. Oh, what? And look left. Same. Then behind, even more. You can't see. So even more suspicion. Isn't it? So as a result, you feel lonely. And then facing some problem, really you feel helpless. As a result of fear, more stress, more frustration, then depression. So open heart, extend our hand, and actually human hand, this beautiful hand, I think meant for bring together.
Embracing. Hugging.
Hugging. For example, when we use, you see, boxing, then we deliberately, you see, have to make like this way, isn't it? So our basics of the nature of our hand is not for boxing, but for hugging like that. Then I think our biological sort of subtle element in our body, friendship, calm mind, really helpful to our body. Now medical scientists now they clearly recognize the calm mind strengthen our immune system. Anger, hatred, fear destroys our immune system. So not only food, but mental state is crucial factor. So therefore, practice of compassion very, very helpful to practitioner himself or herself. Whether this get other people because of the benefit or not, I think much depend on them, on them themselves, on others. I think one example, small example. When I passing through car, passing through, look people. Usually whether I know or not, I think it seems nobody as a stranger. So I always smile like that. So sometimes, in most cases, the other side also, you see, smile back. Smile back. I'm happy. I think at least the short moment is the other people, others also may feel, and at least is some
joy.
Some joy. But sometimes when I smile, then I think perhaps they got some suspicion. Why this person smiling at me? So my compassionate attitude, compassionate expression creates more suspicion in their mind. So instead of happiness or joyful, they got more disturbances. So therefore, the practice of compassion, first the beneficial way. Benefits go to oneself. So that I think important to know. Physical health, mental health, and then calm mind is very, very important because we have this human intelligence. That is the, I think, human unique good thing, human intelligence. The sensorial level sort of experience common with animal, but intelligence, here we have the unique thing. So in order to utilize our intelligence properly, our main mind should be calm. At the state of calm mind, we can utilize our intelligence properly. Usually we call objective study or investigation. Can carry well, much better when your mind is calm. I think one scientist who are carrying in experiment or investigation, if that scientist disturbed due to some factor, a lot of anger, a lot of jealousy, or jealousy, I don't know. Sometimes jealousy may put more energy, maybe, I don't know. Too much competitive sort of feeling and the jealousy may lead more strengthen their effort. But in any case, I think these disturbed mind usually very harmful to see the reality. So the objectivity then reduces. So many of problem, I think, individual level, family level, community level, or international level, global level, I think many problems, many unhappy sort of events mainly come out ignorance. Not knowing the consequences and not knowing the genuine causes. Now, for example, again I think September 11th event. That not created, if you look, that created just a few Muslim. And eliminate these few Muslim, then whole problem solved. That's not the case. That also is not happen just without any reasons or causes. A lot of causes, a lot of sort of, from their own viewpoint, there are a lot of reasons. So things are very complex. Every event due to many factors. If event happen due to just one absolute causes, then easier to tackle that. But every event is a cause a lot of different things because of interconnectedness, nature of interconnectedness, and also the
and also the nature of the cycle of causes and conditions.
So today's event is a result of yesterday's action, yesterday's event. This year's event, last year. Event of this decade, previous decade. Event of this century due to the previous century's event. So things are not easy. So without knowing that, without paying attention about these things, just to tackle that one particular thing, then very difficult. So therefore, calm mind is very essential in order to deal complex issue or complex sort of problems. Complex.
So it is important to, in order to utilize our mind properly with a calm state of mind, we need to take into account the complexity of the event, whether it may be positive or negative, and only on the basis of a calm mind.
Any event, whether positive or negative, happen due to many causes and conditions and depend on many factors. So those positive things which we want, just through prayer, just through just hard work will not achieve. We have to look the vast sort of area, these different elements which eventually shaping the positive event which we want. Similarly, negative, destructive, which do not want, that also depend on many factors. So in order to tackle that, in order to overcome that, we have to look all the vast sort of causes and conditions. So here we need clear mind, sharp mind, analyze very detailed way. For that, if too much emotion, too much negative, even I think positive emotion, too much emotion comes, it's very difficult to analyze precisely. So even non-religious people, I think these negative emotions are very harmful for utilize properly our intelligence. So therefore, in order to develop calm mind, one key factor is compassionate attitude. So think these points, and then if you find some interest, then think more, read more, and discuss more with your friends, and practice or experiment. I think you may find some benefit. If you feel these are nonsense, not much sort of meaning, just the Dalai Lama's gossip, then doesn't matter. Day after tomorrow I'm leaving. So whether you implement or not, I don't care. Because our well-being, my Oh. So, that is supposed to say, my talk cultivate
happiness.
Cultivate happiness. So that is my number one commitment, promotion of human good quality, or as usually I call human values. We cannot promote human value through law, through police, through force, I don't think. Only through reasoning. And also, I believe very strongly, I think in education system, I think pay more attention about warm-heartedness, not as a religious subject, but I usually call secular ethics. Now this coming Sunday, actually meant for that. Not a promotion of Dalai Lama's name, no. I complain the Dalai Lama Center, that name, I don't like that name. So in any way, the purpose of this center is, you already know, you see, there are some organizations or some institution or some individual, mainly it's a scientist. You see, actually, you see, carrying more research about what is the role of anger in our life, right? What is the role of compassion? So actually some professors, you see, carried some experiment with their student, some positive result, definite sort of data there. So there are people who are really working these things. I think I'm just talking. These people actually implement and carry some experiment.
Research, no?
Research work. So there are people, now we need more coordination. And if there is one place or center
To bring together.
because of that, bring together and more active in this field, right? More activities in this field, some seminars, more discussion, then produce some concrete proposal to other institutions. That is my hope, and I'm just contributor, nothing special, like that. So everybody, now I think here among the audience, I think there are, I'm sure you see there are some professors, some people who are actually
Involved in this kind of work. Involved in this type of work.
So please help. Oh, not help. Yes, please help or put more effort to promote this human value, and for that awareness to the public. Make more awareness about this value. Then eventually, I think more and more people pay more attention. Otherwise, you see, these good things usually sometimes take for granted. No special effort. And sometimes just ignore. I think that's a mistake. So, that's number one commitment. Number two commitment is promotion of religious harmony. So, I'm Buddhist. My faith is towards Buddhism, towards Buddha, Buddha Shakyamuni, and Nagarjuna, and Shantideva. But my respect towards all religion, I really respect those theistic religions. I really admire and have sense of deep appreciation. How much contribution made towards humanity so many centuries. Or sometimes create a little bit problems here and there, but basically, you see, they really made a lot of contribution. So there's sufficient reason to respect. Then I think one speaker or one this gentleman is mentioned about one Muslim.
Now, a statement of an Islamic scholar.
So since some time back, I'm Buddhist. I'm as a non-theistic religious practitioner, but somehow I become defender of Muslim Islam. Because you see, it is unfair due to few Muslim mischievous Muslims because of the activities, blame whole Muslim. That's unfair. Mischievous people, among the Christians also there, among the Jews also there, right? Among the Buddhists also, among the Hindus, everywhere. Some mischievous people always there. Among Tibetan Buddhists also, some mischievous sort of people there. Because of that, we can't blame the whole tradition or whole system. So therefore, I felt as a promoter of religious harmony, I think maybe worthwhile to mention that. So please think all major religious tradition, very useful, very helpful. And meantime, I always say, telling my spiritual brothers, sisters, whether we accept religion or not, up to individual. Once we accept any religion, then we should be serious. Not take as a tradition or as a habit. just a Sunday, go to church, and a few moments close your eye and remain like that. Then outside, nothing. That's not serious. Yeah. So once we, now for example, the practice of contentment. When you just is sitting in your own room, yes, think about contentment or value of contentment. When you go to shopping, no longer any contentment. I want this, I want that, I want that. Till your pocket says now empty. That contentment is not volunteer contentment. So therefore, that is not serious practitioner. So think about contentment, and when you're shopping, see many good things, many beautiful things. One corner of your mind, you want this, you want that. But then from another corner of your mind, say contentment, contentment, enough, enough, enough. So that's the practice. Then also you see tolerance or patience. Very nice when we explain about patience or tolerance. But when we really face some problems, then no longer any tolerance, any sense of tolerance of these things. So one time in Jerusalem, we have some seminar about compassion and tolerance, these things.
Interfaith seminar.
I think interfaith seminar. So one Jewish teacher, he told us at the seminar, in his class, he told to his student, and when you in his class, Palestine and Jews, Jewish people. So he told them, when you face when you meet someone who you dislike, then you should think that person as an image of God. Image of God. Then later, some of his students told him, your advice, the thing when you meet someone you usually dislike, then think about image of God. You see, that advice really helpful in order to calm their mind and in order to deal easily with them. So that is the real practice of religion. He believed God. So when real problem, real sort of difficulties, real challenges comes, implement that. So that's the genuine practitioner. So once we accept religion, then we should be serious and sincere. Then I think every major religion have importance or same potential to change human behavior, human mind. And so therefore, all major religious traditions have, I think, same potential to help humanity. So therefore, we must respect. Then meantime, the missionary work, conversion, that we have to think very seriously. I think in ancient time, the groups of different traditions remain more or less isolated, independent. Then within their own community, the missionary work is really worthwhile, very important. But now today, the whole world is something like one entity, and within one community, I think within one community also, I think like here, the Because of Vancouver, Summer Bay.
Vancouver, no.
At the Vancouver city here, I think multi-racial, multi-culture, multi-religion. Almost whole world now becoming something like one small entity, and that entity, multi-culture, multi-religion, racial. So therefore, from one tradition, one side of the tradition, one side, one tradition, try to promote their own faith. Then others also similar sort of effort. Then eventually clash. This is not good. So I think religion should left up to individual. And meantime, in order to promote genuine mutual respect, I think it is useful to learn the value or teaching of other tradition. Myself, when I was in Tibet, not much idea about Christianity. Muslim, I think because there are at least a few thousand Muslims in Lhasa, or I think Lhasa itself, I think maybe around 1,000 Muslim. I mean, Muslim from Indian side. These are very gentle. No record of quarrel. So they are very, very nice community. So in any way, so very little knowledge about other tradition. So then at that time, I feel Buddhism alone is the true religion. Now outside world, eventually I had more contact, more sort of opportunity meet, like late Thomas Merton and Mother Teresa, and also many other Christian practitioners. Then, as a result of deeper knowledge about that tradition, deeper awareness about their value, and then respect automatically comes. So that's, I think, useful in this this time, this situation. I think useful to learn different traditions or value like that. So that's all. Thank you. Few questions now. Few questions. I see.
This one, Your Holiness, came from Joanne, and she asks, how can people develop inner strength and wisdom through illness?
I think firstly, I don't know whether she one of the believer or not. If believer, what kind of belief? So I think basically there is possibility.
There is a Tibetan expression which says that there's always a possibility of transforming adversity into opportunities.
And also one's own illness, experience of illness may helpful you see, to remember the similar patients, sort of their suffering, and from that, more compassionate sort of feeling can develop. So in any way, and also I think useful, you see, when we actually passing through difficulties or suffering, then try to sustain calm mind. Although physical pain there, but then more worry in mental state is additional sort of suffering. So, and then one method is the already physical illness already there was the
There, no.
there. Then now you cannot sort of actually overcome that immediately. So then think generally if there is way to overcome that suffering, then no use to worry. If there is no way to overcome the suffering, incorrect. Well, I think I mistake. I may make a mistake. If there is no way to overcome, then no use.
No use now.
No use, Mare. Oh,
Okay,
yes, no use to worry. If there is a way to overcome the suffering, then no need worry. Make effort. So something like that. That also helpful to keep I think reasonable calm mind. Except that, without too much worry, that actually I think helpful to recover. That's my suggestion. Otherwise, I don't know. Better to ask a doctor.
Noel emailed us this question. What one measurable thing can I do daily to create more world peace? And how will I know that what I'm doing is making a positive difference?
And then, what I'm making a change channels, let's say,
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps I think on practical level, Ajirva. Female?
No.
Oh. In any case, you see, that person also one of the 6 billion human beings. I think he or she must have family. Then bringing up your children more compassionate way, that also I think one's contribution for peaceful world. Peace not come from sky. Peace will not achieve through prayer. I think thousands of people every day pray peace, but never achieve. So therefore, I think effort, work. So therefore, genuine peace, world peace through inner peace. How to start inner peace? First individual, oneself, then the family, then the community, then the national level or international level. So all these initiatives start from individual. So she or he have the potential or opportunity to make a contribution for peace.
An anonymous emailer asks, how does one live in a world without judgment as we all see the world through different paradigms?
I think I already answered that, isn't it? Entire humanity considered as human brothers sisters and part of ourselves, and my future depends on them. I think that kind of attitude certainly reduce the biased attitude.
Regan in Thailand asks, why do so many people suffer from sorrow in the world?
Sorrow.
Sorrow, unhappiness, distress.
Why do people suffer from sorrow?
Why do so many people suffer from sorrow?
All right. That answer from the Buddhist viewpoint, ultimately because of this body. This body is ultimately come from ignorance, wrong conception. Right. Wrong conception create wrong, karma. So wrong karma brings this body. So this is the base of suffering. So therefore, concept of salvation. If our world, no suffering, then no need concept of salvation. But because this is not a happy one, so therefore, worthwhile to think about possibility to overcome all these problems. Like that. Then, I don't know, a theistic person, if you believe God, then you should ask God, why is He create these sufferings? Yes.
Two more questions. From Luyen. How can a layperson effectively correct harmful attitudes or feelings when they arise? For example, when anger or desire comes, it comes very quickly. And before you know it, you've done something that you regret. How do you change this and move toward happiness?
I think I already mentioned it is worthwhile to develop basic calm mind. That's something like strong immune system. Once you have that kind of mental state, then some disturbance come, and that the reaction, anger, hatred, much weaker.
No.
Right. Then easier to handle. And weak anger or small anger, I think much more easier to develop tolerance or patience. So that, so if without basic sort of, calm mind, then even small sort of causes create a lot of anger, fear, distress like that. Then very difficult to handle, very difficult. So these are, I think, there is no sort of immediate effective method. I don't know. Something like painkiller. I don't know. I don't think. So they need the basic training and develop right kind of mental attitude through through training or through analyze, usually we call through analytical meditation. Then there's possibility eventually, change our attitude when we confront some problems or some difficult situation. But otherwise, these things I think impossible to without proper sort of cultivation. Very difficult. Yes.
Final question, Your Holiness, comes from Patricia from Port Coquitlam here in British Columbia. There are times in everybody's life when it's not just one trying situation, but several. How can a person facing multiple trying situations attain happiness?
Trying situations.
Every event are relative, many different aspects. So it is useful. One painful event happened. Try to look from different angle. You might find some positive things. That very helpful to reduce your frustrations, your anger.
Intensity.
Reduce intensity of anger or hatred like that. Then also remember that tragedy, not only in my case, but there are thousands of people. That kind of same sort of problems. That also losing regard.
So another thought process that is helpful is when you confront trying situations, to recognize the fact that it's not just you who's in this situation, but others too. Many others share the similar kind of difficult situations. When you reflect in that manner, it immediately loosens up this very narrow-minded vision that you tend to have.
And actually, one of the benefits or the influence or impact from compassion is think about others. Then your own problem then appears insignificant. Think only oneself. Then even small problem appears unbearable. So that also is I think one method to reduce, frustrations.
So I'm pretty certain everybody here has heard at least one idea to take home with them, that the seeds of cultivating happiness have been planted in each of us in some way. The Dalai Lama's comments, actually, that he just made here at GM Place will, through the miracle of technology, be available on CD as you leave this place. All of the proceeds will go to the Dalai Lama Center for Peace and Education, and they'll be available at the 300 level at Gate 2 and 8, the 100 level, Gate 110 and 117, and also at the SkyTrain station. I've been honored to be here today with you and to share this moment with you, and I would like all of us now to say a profound and great thank you to our newest Canadian, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama.
Thank you.